What's up guys, it's your boy DS, and today we're going to be talking about the best early game weapons, gear, and upgrades for you guys to have in Wo Long Dynasty. Now, these are going to be some things that are just going to help you overall. It's not going to be specific to any build or anything like that. Now, I know that this is the demo, but considering that you can take your save file over to the full game, we are most likely in the early game, so a lot of this information is going to be relevant no matter if you're in the demo or the full game. And I know a lot of people out there are going to plan on transferring over their save file to the full game, so this will get you guys ahead of the curve. Now, if there's anything that I need to add into this video later, I will make another video when the full game releases. Now that we got all of that out of the way, I do want to start off by talking about your weapons. Looking at the weapon that they start you off with, this is actually going to be one of the best weapons for the early game. And the reason why is, number one, yes, it does have a little bit lower attack power than some of the other weapons, and it does have a little bit lower base attack as well. But the thing about it is, this is one of the fastest early game weapons that you can have. And by fast, I mean the swinging speed. Now, there are a couple of other weapons here that are as fast, but they don't give you the exact same stats and passives that this starting weapon does. Looking at it, one of the main things that makes this weapon so good is the deflect difficulty. And what that stat does is the higher the stat is, the less spirit you use to deflect. And I know you guys are going to ask, hey DS, why would I be deflecting 5, 6, 7, 8 times for this to actually matter? Well, you're not going to. But the thing about this is, this spirit gauge is used for a multitude of different weapons. If you use this skill right here, you're going to be using some. Whenever you block and get hit, your spirit gauge goes up. Whenever you use your spells, the spirit gauge goes up. There's multiple things that go into the spirit gauge filling up. So one additional thing you don't need is you deflecting, your spirit gauge getting maxed out, an enemy hits you, and now you're stunned. So the deflect difficulty being up is going to be a really nice addition. And on top of that, looking at the special effect, the Starfall is a pretty nice move. Now, I'm not saying it's the best move in the game or anything, but number one, it's pretty fast and it's a forward advancing move. So anytime an enemy rolls or anything, you can do that and you will hit them. It's a really nice addition to the weapon. The last thing I want to talk about as far as this weapon goes is the passive at the bottom, melee attack damage. Even though the attack power and base attack of this weapon is a little bit lower than some of the other ones, you have melee attack damage increase, which is going to be really nice because that's going to be just tacking on an extra % to the damage you're doing. Not to mention, even though the attack power and base attack is a little bit lower, you have to keep in mind you are attacking a lot faster, which means even if it's a little bit lower, you're still going to be dishing out pretty much the same damage because you're hitting more hits per second. Now that we're done talking about the weapon, I do want to get into the armor. As far as the armor goes, you pretty much just want to put on anything that gives you additional stats. If you look, right, whenever you're going into it, if you see that it gives you blue stats, put it on. As you can see, all of these are giving red stats. You don't want that on. Same thing goes here. If it's blue, put it on. If it's blue, put it on. And the reason why I say that is because as far as the armor goes, this is going to be helping out your defensive capabilities, right? So your physical defense, spirit defense, it's going to be helping out your defense. That is going to keep you alive a lot longer than if you didn't have these things. Getting into the levels and what you should be leveling up, we're going to go here, and as you guys can see, there are 5 different things that you can level up. Now, I do want to start off by saying, no matter which one you level up, your HP will go up and your melee attack power will go up as well. So I'm not going to be talking about those because that applies to every single one of these. Now, up front, Wood Virtue is going to be the best thing for you guys to level up, and the reason why is, number one, it increases your spirit defense, and number two, it increases your spell duration. And you're going to be using the spell duration buff quite a lot, so that's going to be really, really good for your character. On top of that, this gives you access to a couple of different spells that you wouldn't be able to have if you didn't level it up. Moving on to the Fire Virtue, this one, as you guys can see, it raises the spirit you gain whenever you attack, and it decreases the spirit consumption when you use your martial arts. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, I have not come into any problems as far as the spirit consumption on my martial arts. Like, I feel like that would only happen if you're spamming the move. And then as far as spirit gain, I feel like if you're constantly attacking, which you should be, you're going to be gaining enough spirit. I feel like, getting a couple of extra percents on this is not going to be the difference at all. Moving on to the Earth Virtue. This does increase the spirit gain when you deflect, and then this increases your equipment weight. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's not enough equipment in the game for you guys to even be worrying about your equipment weight. at all. And then as far as the deflect spirit gain, number one, you're not going to be deflecting like thousands of times in one fight. So like that's not going to matter near as much. But on top of that, once again, I feel like I don't have any spirit problems at all. I feel like you'd only have the spirit problems if you guys are like spamming and not actually thinking about the actions that you're doing. Moving on to the metal virtue, as you guys see, your spirit sustainability goes up, which that's actually pretty good. But then on top of that, your wizard spell spirit consumption goes down. Now the thing about this is, once again, if you aren't spamming your spells over and over and over, you should never run into any issues like this. This would probably be more of like a mage type build, but as far as the early game goes, you're not going to have enough points to go full mage anyway, so this is not going to actually work. Not to mention, this game is not a game where you want to spam spells, more so you want to weave some of your spells into your combos that you're doing with your melee attacks. Moving on to the last one, which is the water virtue. This one will increase your ranged weapon attack power, which I'm going to tell you right now, I don't even have a ranged weapon. So maybe you get one, soon or whatever the case may be. But as far as right now, you won't even have one. And on top of that, as far as the stealth goes, I have never, there's never been a moment so far where I tried to be stealthy and it didn't work. If I wanted to be stealthy, I was. So the stealth going up, you don't really need that. And then the spirit consumption rate on your deflect, number one, if you're using the weapon you're using is gonna have an increase on that. But on top of that, you don't use that much spirit whenever you're deflecting anyway. And once you deflect, it actually takes some of your spirit down. So you don't need that one either. So like I said, my personal opinion, Wood Virtue is going to be the best one for you guys to level up in the early game, simply because it gives you some of the most benefits. But on top of that, it does allow you the most flexibility if you guys want to build into something else later. Now, like I said, I did talk about some of the spells that you are going to need to level up as far as the wood one goes. And then you see right here, I have the earth one at level 2 because there's a spell you want to get for this as well. Now, talking about the spells, the spell I'm talking about in the wood division that you want is going to be Absorb Vitality. This is going to allow you and your allies, which you do have an ally right now, even though they don't do that much, but whenever you or your allies damage an enemy, you will heal. This is so good because it applies to any damage you do. So whenever you stun the boss, that really big hit that you get after that, you heal off of that as well. This is going to be such a good tool in the early game, keeping you alive. Now, the thing about it is you have to have your Wood Virtue to level 3. So that's, if you don't have a level 3, you're not going to be able to do this basically. And on top of that, you do have to get this spell first before you can get this one. So you are going to probably want to go into the wood spells so that you can get Absorb Vitality. Now, looking at the other ones, you don't really, if you want to get any of these other ones, you can, it's up to you, but you don't have to get any of the fire. This one is a really good combo extender or combo finisher, and this one right here is just, really good to get some extra poke off, but that's completely up to you. Now, if we move on to the earth one, the one that you want to get in the earth one, and this is why you have your earth level 2, is enhanced defense. For a certain period of time, you receive less damage from enemies and will not flinch except from some powerful attacks. This is going to allow you to not only take less damage, meaning that you don't have to heal as much, but anytime a boss or enemy hits you, most of the attacks they hit you with, you will not flinch. Meaning, let's say, a boss swings and you swing, y'all swing at the same time, the boss hits you, and then you hit the boss. When the boss hits you, you won't flinch, so you will hit the boss and they flinch. So this is going to be a really nice addition to the early game build, along with, Absorb Vitality. Now, once again, I was talking about your spell duration. These are going to last longer because your spell duration is up, because you increased your Wood Virtue. And that is going to be a really great benefit to you if you are in the early game and trying to make sure you are healing as much as possible and you guys are taking less damage. Moving on to the metal spells, there is a spell right here called Poison Bubble, which, you can hit enemies or bosses with, and it will just do a little bit of extra damage. Once again, the spell duration increase is going to allow this poison to stay on enemies longer, which is just going to be a really nice addition once again. Moving on to the water phase spells, this one right here, the Frost Lance, applies like a frost debuff to enemies, which I believe slows them. But on top, once again, the spell duration increase is going to allow them to be debuffed for longer. So it doesn't matter if you're buffing yourself or debuffing enemies. Anytime you hit them with anything or apply something to yourself, the spell duration increase is going to add to that, which is just going to be really good for an early game build. At the end of the day, you guys can, you know, put on and build whatever you want. The choice is up to you. If you like a certain weapon or you want to use a certain weapon, go for it. But this is just going to be a really great early game build for anyone that's looking to maximize everything that they possibly can. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. That being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.